Hi, welcome to learnhowtogarden.com, and on today's episode of the 10-Minute Gardener we've got one of our occasional films in the kitchen, and what I'm going to be doing today is showing you how to make Membrillo or Quince jelly. If you're not already subscribed to me at Learn How to Garden, there is a link below this film. Click on the link, that takes you to the website, input your email address. Every single time I put a new film up, it lets you know, lets you see what courses we offer at Learn How to Garden, and it also means you get access to our free monthly newsletters. Today I am answering a question, and the question posted to me on the website was, what do you do with the quince when they've grown? And I'm a great fan of quince. I love them in the fruit garden. I also think they're great at home. They're nearly impossible to buy. They're originally from Asia. They look a bit like a cross between an apple and a pear, and in fact it's the rootstock of the quince that's used for growing most pears now. They're rock hard. Very few quince ever become ripe enough to eat off the tree, but what they are great for is cooking with. My gran always used to add one of these to her apple pie mix, which sort of seemed to transform it. A bowl like this will really scent your kitchen and your home, but the real thing I love quince for is making a hard jelly called Membrillo. In fact, Membrillo just means quince in Spanish, but it's sort of taken on this, when you say Membrillo, people think of this paste. And it is a jelly, but it's not a soft jelly. It's hard enough that you can slice, and it is fantastic on Manchego cheese, which is a quite salty sheep's cheese. So with any saltish cheese, it really is great to eat together as a quick snack. It's very easy to make, but it is quite time consuming. One of the big differences between the recipe I use and most recipes, in a lot of recipes it's equal parts of sugar to quince. Mine as a maximum will be 75% sugar because I really want the taste of the quince first, not the sugar. The first thing we have is about 1 kilo of quince, and there's a bloom on quince. It's like a sort of slight soft grey furriness, and the first thing we want to do is wash the bloom off all our quince. And the only other ingredient at this point at the beginning is a lemon. The other bit that makes mine quite different is I tend to cook mine in a slow cooker. I just find it so much easier. It's a long process, and you can do it in a heavy bottom pan on a stove or a Rayburn, an Arga, but if you've got a slow cooker it really is quite an easy way to do it. So the first thing I'll do is just wash these quince all off and then show you what comes next. Having just washed them off, take a fairly strong knife, because these are hard, and you quarter them, and then just into about 1 centimetre or 1/2 centimetre slices, about this big. Although it's yellow, the actual finished Membrillo is going to be a really sort of dusky orange colour. It really does transform. Do that to all of them, pop them in to your slow cooker. Easy. So I've got my chopped up quince in the bowl. This could be, as I've said, in a heavy bottom pan. I never ever bother to core them and take all the bits out. Once this has been sitting here slowly cooking for 1.5 hours, 2 hours, we're going to blitz this in a Magimix or a blender. Then I'm going to pass it through a sieve. Any of those bits will come out at that point. And what is really interesting about quince is it's got more natural pectin than most other fruit, which is why it makes this fantastic jelly. What we're going to do in a second is just cover this with water. So it's just covered in water, which is what it's going to cook in for 1.5 hours. But before that, we need to add the zest of a lemon. And I've always found the easiest way to zest a lemon is just to take a potato peeler and peel it off. Don't throw the lemon away. You'll be using that later after you've blitzed it to actually cook with it. So this goes in. This is my sort of cooking. Once this is done and the water's on, it'll go in this slow cooker and it has to sit for about 2 hours. So I suggest a good book, decent film, Lawrence of Arabia springs to mind, a couple of hours, no more than 2 glasses of wine. Not for this, just for you. If you have more than 2 glasses of wine, you probably won't bother to finish it, which would be a shame having grown them. So, in just cover with water. Into this slow cooker, and we'll be back in about 1.5 to 2 hours. We're back now, and in fact it's 2.5, nearly 3 hours, so this actual quince has taken longer to cook than I first thought. Normally I can do it in a couple of hours, this has taken longer. But don't be tempted to rush it. You want the quince at the point that a knife will just very easily slide through it. And the scent you're getting off here is a really quite exotic scent. It's that, you know, you get Turkish delight when you make elderflower cordials. It's that really exotic scent. What we now want to do is separate the liquid from the pulp, and the easiest way to do that, I find, is just quite quickly through a sieve, because we're actually going to take all of this quince and we're going to pulse it all up, get all the liquid out. And that all goes into a Magimix or a blender. We retain the liquid that the quince has been cooked in, because once we've actually liquidised the quince itself, passed it through a sieve, this liquid is what's going to be used to make the membrillo, along with 750 grams of sugar here and the lemon. So I'll just blitz this and we'll come back when this is a pulp, because you won't be able to hear while it's going. So what we have now is the quince, which is a consistency of, I suppose the easiest thing is baby food, isn't it, to think about it, into a fine sieve, and this just takes some time, and we slowly push all of the jelly, or what is going to be the jelly, through the sieve to separate out any bits and to make it really, really smooth. The same as if you're making a fish mousse, really. It's just got to go through this sieve. And again, it'll take as long as it takes to do it. So what we've got now, which doesn't really look that pretty, is this very, very smooth extract from our quinces. And to that we're going to add the juice of the lemon that we had earlier, and then we're going to pop into there 750 grams of sugar. It's in a really heavy bottomed pan. This is a pan that I use for soups and jams, things like that. Stir it together, and then we've got to put this on the heat, bring it up just so it boils. The minute it boils or gets to the boil and those sugars have dissolved, reduce it right down. You could in fact put this back into the slow cooker on high. I know that sounds a contradiction, but a slow cooker on high is still not very warm. And then we're going to reduce this right down for, again, 2, perhaps 3 hours to get rid of as much of the moisture from this as possible. And it'll go from this caramelly brown colour, it'll start to take on this sort of dusky pink hue. I use gas, which is the worst thing at times like this. It's at times like this when I'm doing anything slowly, I wish I had a halogen hob. So we'll just bring this up to the boil, get the sugar absorbed, take it down as low as you physically can and leave it to sit until it really does start to go very, very solid, like a jam would. The rule of thumb, which I always follow, is this is going to reduce by about 2/3. 2/3 to 3/4, and that's when I really feel it's starting to actually make this amazing jelly, which is membrillo. Like I said at the beginning, we call it a jelly, but it's going to be hard enough to slice. And it smells absolutely fantastic, even at this point. For those of you with really keen powers of observation, you'll notice that I'm dressed slightly differently. That's because having cooked the Membrillo and poured it out to set, I then totally forgot that I hadn't finished this film. So it's about 2 and a bit weeks later, and it's only because it's quite a nice winter day and I wanted some Membrillo with some manchego. Your Membrillo will have set in the fridge, and it's a really quite solid texture and this amazing colour, and the classic way that this is eaten by the Spanish is to take a small slither. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a pig when it comes to Membrillo, so this is a bit of a bigger slither than it should be. And this shows you sort of the texture that we get. It's sort of like a, I'm not sure what the texture is, you'd say really. It's a Membrillo texture. I need to open my manchego. This is a hard cheese from the Pyrenees, very, very popular in the Basque region of northern Spain and France. So I'll just open this. I've cut my Membrillo. To be brutally honest, I cut my Membrillo and eaten the first bit and got told off by the cameraman. So we take Membrillo, I spread it gently onto a cracker. Nice piece of manchego. It is divine. I know you shouldn't talk with your mouth full, and if my mum sees this, I'll probably get a clip around the ear. And my dogs are salivating onto my left leg. But it is divine. It's fiddly, it takes hours to reduce. You seem to be standing stirring it forever. Grow a quince because the tree is beautiful. Make this because there are some things in life that don't fit in with your diet, that aren't particularly sort of low calorie. But you shouldn't go through a life without experiencing this. It would just seem slightly unfulfilled. So if you'd like to leave me with my plate of crackers and my manchego and the thought that I'll be spending hours in the gym in the next few days, thanks a lot for watching me at Learn How to Garden, and enjoy growing your quince tree.